All right.
All right, hello Miami. It is Wednesday, January 22nd, 2020, and this is Nothing's Going On, episode 26. I am your host, Rafa, and I am here with the tremendous Art Handler.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Oh, we got a
Thank you.
dedicated device now. I
Well,
like that. I like. Does it
good.
make more? Oh, it does.
It's
I see
good
it,
fan base. Yeah, it makes more.
I see it has like 10 buttons on there.
Yeah,
This
man. They're not all good.
This is good. We're upgrading. Thanks for the beer. I think this is the first time you bring me a Miami beer, and it's the only beer in Miami that anybody drinks, I think.
Actually, they make, is that Tank Brewery?
This is Wynwood Brewery's La Rubia.
Well, Tank makes one they call Playita, which you can get in cans at Total Wine, but there's another one called El Farrito. And that one you can only get at Camaronera or in other places on tap. It's excellent.
Really?
Excellent.
Really?
Hoppy, sweet, a little citrusy. Very Miami, man. I'm all about it.
I think we talked about this once, but I feel like Rubia is the only one that's like a go-to for people that would normally drink, you know, your big beers, your Buds and your Millers and stuff like that. But when they see a Rubia, they're like, okay, yeah, I could have that one because I know it, and I know it doesn't taste. It's not one of these funky beers with a lot of personality. You know what I mean?
Too much craft. Yeah, I think La Rubia holds its own pretty good. So shout out to the boys from Miami making good beer. All right.
Yeah, they're still brewing it. Oh wait, what? Uh-oh. So I knew they had gotten bought out, but so I'm looking at the side of the can. It says brewed, bottled, and canned by Wynwood Brewing Company,
All right.
Miami, Florida,
Uh-huh.
and
Oh, boy.
Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Get
What?
out of here. I don't think we can drink.
How can you brew and at the two places? I don't get
Doesn't that prohibit us by the bylaws of this show that we cannot drink that or at least talk about it on the air? Well, it was a good beer. Hopefully, Tank Brewery's right there in Doral.
Yeah.
And they make really good beer. A little pricey, but real good. I think.
Really? Do you know the name of their lager or kind of light ale or whatever?
Well, like I was telling you, they got one that's
okay. Those were the ones you're talking about.
Playita, and you can buy it
Wynwood.
in cans here locally. And then Farrito. Farrito is my favorite, but it's impossible to find outside of a draft somewhere.
Gotcha.
But worth it, man. Worth it. At $5 a draft.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Good to know. Good to know. All right, let me tell you a little story about my weekend. Well, Friday I went to the Deuce, and it was really packed, and it was because it was the New Order show. New Order came to town, and they played.
Aren't they an old band?
Yeah, I mean, they're from the 80s.
Yeah.
They played at the Fillmore. They had a residency there. They played like for 4 nights or something. Donzi opened for them. I didn't get to see the show.
Can't get enough of Donzi.
It was an expensive show, but Donzi opened for him. Oh, I got some Donzi for you later, too. But so we went to the Deuce, and it was packed with all these people that seemed like out-of-towners. I knew they were from out of town because they dressed better than all of us.
Dead
all
giveaway.
us locals. But so I did that. But on Sunday was the last day of the tavern in Coconut Grove.
What?
So the owners of Sandbar and Cuda, who are the same people, I think, if I'm getting this
In the
right.
Grove.
In the Grove, right next door to this bar. They own that one too, and they've kept it going, but now they're gonna like gut it and maybe combine it with the place that's behind it, so they have like one massive space and make like a restaurant or some shit like that.
Ugh.
You know,
That tavern has been a staple of the Grove. Back from the good days of the Grove. That Sandbar actually used to be Hungry Sailor. I don't know if you were here in the days when that was the Hungry Sailor. They had the.
I never went to the Hungry Sailor. No,
They had the penny beer nights on Thursday night. It was, they called it Drinking with Lincoln. It was a good time, but you had to at least be flashing a 20 to get close to the bar. There was just hundreds of college kids packed like bees at the hive. You couldn't get to it.
So that's how the tavern was on Sunday. A lot of college kids. I mean, the games were on the TVs and stuff like that. Actually, it was nice. I mean, like, nice for me because Sandbar plays all the games on these massive TVs, and so it's very popular for that. Tavern has a big TV too, but they didn't. They only put like the end of the game kind of thing for for the fans, like, and not to distract, I guess. But it's one of these places, if you haven't been, where it's like a college place, sort of, and all they serve is beer.
Yeah.
And well, that's kind of sucks because you can't get you can't get like
It's
a
an old
Strunger or
school
something.
belly up to the bar, no seating, you
Yeah.
know, chicks getting drunk
Exactly.
and
Oh
flirting.
man,
And
the bathroom was overflowing.
yeah,
Right into the room and stuff like that. It was
classic.
gnarly. But let me tell you the story. So we're outside hanging out, and we had been there. I mean, it must have been like I got there like at 4:30, and this was like at 9:30. Okay, I was there for a while.
Wow.
Yeah,
That takes
you know,
commitment.
going to various places, getting a cocktail out, and so I'm telling a story from my heyday. I think I was like 18 or something, about doing some whippets outside of Yucky's because we were right outside of Yucky's.
I remember Yucky's.
Yeah. And so Yucky's is still there. I don't know if it has a different name, but it's still there.
They call it something else, and it's a very similar name, but it's not the same old joint.
Yucky's is an old head shop in the Grove, and it's been there forever. And they have, smells like a head shop. They have like incense, and they have bongs and pipes. And
I was kicked out of there when I was 15
for saying bong or
for
what?
saying bong. I walked in and I had my cash, and I said, "I'd like to see that bong right there." And this old like deadhead lady's like, "All right, now I got to ask you to leave." And I was like, "Huh?" I just totally didn't get it. She's like, "You got to get out of here. You're not allowed to talk like that." I was like, "Oh, son of a gun." And I walk out, and some old dude had gone in there. He saw us. He came back out. And I was like, "I don't get it." He's like, "Dude, you can't say those words in there. It's water pipe or something." So I handed him the cash. I was like, "Will you buy me that red one?" Sure enough, he did. It was old school. The Grove used to be, this touches on our larger theme that's always coming back, and, things that used to be in Miami. How
Yeah.
Miami's a city of change, and it's constantly changing, and it's sometimes for the better and a lot of times for the worse. You get rid of the good old spots like Fox's and Jimbo's and now the tavern, and
well, Yucky's is still there, and let me tell you the story. So I'm relating this story of
doing
whippets.
Yeah.
I won't bore you with the story, but I was talking about it was doing whippets like right in front of Yucky's 20 years ago. Shit, is it? No, it's 15. Oh, fucking hell. It's 20 years ago. Damn, I'm old. Okay. 18 years ago, whatever. And I'm talking to these guys, and they're buddies of mine, but they're a little older. They're actually in their 50s, and they're like, "What?" And so they're like, "They have whippets here?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So we walk into the store. He's like all gung ho on getting the whippets.
You got to call him something?
Yeah. So I knew what to call them. You have to call them whipped cream chargers, okay? Because they use them. The little whippets are used to, those like. If you're into baking and stuff, you get there's like these industrial whipped cream dispensers, and that's what they're for. That's what
not the cans that we used to go into Publix when we couldn't afford whippets and huff those.
No, same. They have the same stuff in them, right? Those same thing, but the little things are replacements for these industrial whipped cream things, right? So we walk in, and so I tell, like, he's laughing. We're drunk. I'm like, "Yeah, we need some cream chargers," and I guess I didn't know how to say cracker, like the
thing that pierces it.
Yeah, the thing that pierces it. So I was like, and I don't know, the dispenser or whatever. But another buddy of ours who's also like 55 lawyer met his wife at the tavern. Weird story. Anyway, he
full circle.
Yeah, he comes into the store as we're doing this, drunk as shit, and he just goes, "Bong, bong, 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 bong." He starts yelling it. He's just running around the store doing this.
Nice.
The lady's like, "What the fuck?" You know?
We all have that friend, right? Yeah. Who's like thinks it's funny to do the worst possible timing,
Yeah, exactly. But she's not. I thought she was gonna be more upset. She's like, "You gotta get the fuck out of here," and that's it. And so we get the things, we get the charger, and the girl's like, "Hey, this cracker is not very good." I'm like, "Sorry, it's just not very good." It felt like dingy, like it was aluminum, but it was really lightweight. It sucked. So we go outside and start cracking whippets, and first whippet I cracked, it didn't work.
Ugh.
The cracker leaked all over my hand. And if you see right now, I have these 2 huge blisters from the cold ass.
Oh,
nitrous,
you got burnt with that.
Yeah, from the nitrous on my hand. I didn't
saw
get to
that.
do
I
one.
saw those marks on your hand, and I thought,
"Is that shit?"
Yeah.
So anyway, amateur hour. And stupid. Like, what the hell was I?
I don't know how you can do whippets when you're drunk.
I'm glad I didn't get to do it.
That's fall down type material.
Yeah,
That's
the whole thing didn't work, and so I was like, "Fuck this shit." They tried it. They didn't get burned because they knew what was going to happen. It didn't work, and it kind of sucked. But that's my tavern is over whippet story. Wah, wah.
Yeah. No, I'm. I never did whippets in front of Yuckies, but not that cool. But the tavern was kind of a dump. It was a little hallway that served beer, and
Yeah.
it was dingy and grungy.
It smells bad.
Yeah, but I mean, what's the new style in Miami? Everything is like luxury, SLS.
Yeah,
condos with expensive sushi bars that you need a mortgage to eat at, and I'm not down with it, man. I like my old Deuce. God, they ever shut that Deuce down?
No, that thing.
We're in trouble.
No,
man.
but that thing's going strong. So I don't
Telling
think
you,
it's.
man. You got our Alabama Jacks down south, Gilbert's for those of us who get all the way down there. Tiki Bar, the whole Holiday Isle went like corporate many years ago. But it's like the old Florida, that documentary about Jimbos. I'll never forget, one of the more poignant moments was somebody said, "This is the last of the old Florida. This is the last of the old flip-flops and beer and hangout and, live music and be cool and take it easy and no pretension,
A little bit, yeah. I mean, not completely. I don't think we've lost it completely, and you can still find it. What you're going to have a hard time finding is people who want to go with you, because all your friends want to go to the fucking nice place too.
Well, along those lines and since we're on the Grove vein, my parents, I was born and raised here. My parents were old Grovites, they used to go to the Rocky Horror Picture Show house, which was in the Gables, I think, something like that. Or was it the Grove? No, it was the Grove.
They used to play it in the Grove a lot.
It was the Grove.
Yeah.
Well, when they shut down, my dad bought this like 8-foot by 8-foot canvas portrait of Meatloaf with his head cut open. He's got it still. We tied it to the roof of our car and drove off with it.
Nice.
It has people's bubble gum on the back still. And this is like 40 years ago. And but yeah, the Grove used to be something really wild and hip, and it was an artist community. It was real. It was the real deal. And isn't that just the way of all of it, man? And Soho and all these places that they get discovered. We all know the formula.
Yeah.
Artists go in because it's cheap and they make a scene and they make it cool. It gets discovered, and then people monetize it. And the next thing you know, there's a Starbucks there and a Panther Coffee and a condo,
right?
And you're done.
Which I suppose is kind of a natural evolution. Well, or an evolution that we're used to, but I guess what I lament is that we don't.
I've had enough of it a little bit.
That other places haven't popped up to replace them. You know what I mean? So, I mean, Miami Beach became an artist community for a time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Lincoln Road used to be kind of sketchy to go down.
Exactly. So all those
South
places.
of 5th was like.
All those places turned nice, and now you don't have the same kind of community. I mean, the artists are still here, but they don't all live in one neighborhood. You don't have any kind of that kind of neighborhood anymore.
It's a musical chairs sort of deal. You remember?
There's no congregation anymore. You know what I mean? People are just spread out.
I came of age being in the art industry that we would go. The art walks was free booze, and a hip time, and you'd get a little dinner maybe. You'd meet your buddies, and you'd gallery hop, and if you schmoozed enough, you get to go into the back of the gallery and pound free cheap wine and veggie dip, right, with cauliflower. And back in the day, it was the Gables, right? Mm-hmm. Then after the Gables, it became Design District. After Design District, it was Wynwood. Now it's Little Haiti. Now they're talking, what's the next? Oh, Alapata, as we've discussed on this show, is going to be the next one. It's a musical chairs sort of deal. Next thing we know, it's going to be Gould's way down south and Homestead. I think it's a little too far, but if we ever got a working train down there.
I mean, there's plenty of space going just a little bit west of here, basically.
Yeah, we've discussed before this whole Northwest 7th Avenue was trying to take off. Las Rosas seems to be, I kind of reflect on it like polyps on a coral reef. You're going to find one that's going to find the right rock,
Yes.
with the right flow and the right nutrients, and it'll grow.
Yeah.
And if it does, it might create a little microenvironment around it. Las Rosas seems to be one of the guys who's clinging here, and is going to do it.
So they'll stay, but I was talking to Mr. Jolt, who was on our show last week or 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I know that
He's
guy.
A raging mess. Love him anyway. But he was actually saying that as much as they want to make this kind of Northwest 7th Avenue here in Allapattah a thing, it's almost like too wide and too spread out and too much of a highway more than a community road.
Yeah.
So even if you really packed it with retail here, it just would never become that because it's too much of a thoroughfare. You know what I mean?
Well, I think
it's like US 1 becoming a community. It's just not going to happen.
It's got the grit here. But I
yeah,
get
definitely. But you'd have to go into some kind of side streets or something because
right,
you're not going to do it right on this one.
Right. I guess you kind of need that slower flow.
Yeah, exactly.
Of not Biscayne. Wynwood is this honeycomb like small streets and stuff. And already some of our clients have built big condos there.
Mm-hmm.
They can't go very high for some reason. They don't go more than like 7 stories, which is weird to me.
It's a zoning thing.
Right.
Which is kind of.
But the streets are tiny. The parking is non-existent. The pretension is through the roof.
Yeah, that one already got eaten up.
Yeah, man.
Let me ask you something. Kind of changing the subject here.
Shoot.
Today was the coldest day since 2010. It wasn't as cold as the day in 2010. It was in the 40s this morning.
Actually, it was 39 in Kendall, man.
Really?
Yeah.
In 2010, it got to like 32, 30 or something like that. But I'm asking you because I assume you were up early.
Yes.
Did you see like any dead iguanas or anything like that?
This was one of my only talking points.
Really?
National Weather Service issued an advisory for Miami, beware of falling iguanas.
Yeah.
This is a real thing down here. And I've seen it before. I'm old enough that my younger brother was born in 1977 when we actually got snow on the ground. And I don't remember much of it, but we had it for a hot minute, a cold minute.
For the morning, that's it.
Yeah, and every once in a while it gets cold. That time back in 2010, my old lady and I had taken our first boy, who was just about turning a year. We had taken him to Paris, of all things. And when we came back from freezing our butts off in Paris around Christmas, we were there for New Year's.
Okay.
That was super cold, man. We'll get back to it, but the French know how to do it, I tell you. And but we got back to Miami, and we're like, oh, let's warm our bones. Like the next morning, she's getting up to take the boy to the daycare. She comes in shrieking. She's like, there's frost all over the windshield. What do we do? And right there, I realized we're not northern folk. We don't know what the hell to do. Now, I've seen the scrapers, and I know that that's something that you do. We dumped hot water all over it and went. But back to the iguanas. Now, I've got some really funny tangents on this. The iguanas down here are an invasive species.
Yeah.
And they're hated. And they're everywhere. And people don't like them. And they dig holes in the embankments.
Yeah.
And the main thing
they
people...
crap in your pool.
The crap in the pool. That's what everybody hates is they crap in your pool.
Yeah.
And their craps are these greasy, nasty messes. And in the Keys, they're littered with them in the Keys. And these guys hate it. They got these $1 million houses, and they got iguanas with crap all over it. And they really hate it. And there's services to take them out. Well, one of our big clients, the manager of his house, this fella, is a Honduran guy. And he told me, he's like, oh, we Hondurans are nuts about eating iguana meat. And they really like cooking the eggs. And they eat the eggs. Now, the egg, when they cook it, doesn't get hard-boiled. It's a fleshy, reptilian sort of egg.
Ooh, okay.
So it doesn't get hard. So they cook it, they pierce it, and they, like, drink it. And then they make these casseroles with the iguana. He showed me his iPhone was, like, full of all these photos. I was like, no way. And he tells me, he says, my Honduran buddies, when they're coming to Miami, they'll send money ahead of time and say, buy us a couple big iguanas. They want to have a big feast. My South American buddies are like, let's get some vacío and some steak. We're going to have an asado. These guys, I don't even know what you call it, But they grill them up and they make these casseroles and they love them. And he told me fair-sized iguana, stripped and gutted, like skinned and gutted, no head, will fetch $100.
What?
He said there's a Cuban guy out of Homestead who's making a living doing nothing but catching them
and
skinning them and selling them to Hondurans. And I thought, I'll be dogged, man. I remember after Hurricane Andrew, when they were, all our trees were busted and they were cutting them down. These guys were dropping out of the trees left and right, and they were grabbing them and putting them in cages. And lo and behold, many years later, there's a diet for them. And a buddy, go ahead.
I would love to try one, but at $100 an iguana, I'm not going to try one. How many people is that? It has to be a big one.
The
hard part is the skinning it.
Well, Jersey said, I don't eat reptile and I don't eat tongue.
Really?
Yeah.
I think missing out.
Well,
especially the tongue part.
Well, I like tongue. I'm Jewish, that's a delicacy. But reptile, I can hear it. I ate gator once, but
yeah, it was like chewy chicken.
Well, this guy, the Honduran, he tells me, he says, Artie, you have no idea. This is the healthiest meat out there. I'm like, what are you talking about? He says, they're vegetarian. All they eat is little green shoots of grass. But this is not 100% true. Their favorite thing to eat on the planet is hibiscus flowers.
Yeah.
Now, Jersey says they like tofu also because he had 3 of them in an apartment in Hialeah when he first moved here from Jersey. And he said he taught one of them to stand up on its hind legs for tofu. True story. He told me this today. I said, you're out of your mind, No, they did it, and they were living with him in the house. And he told me, and we just put a tarp over the beds, and we let them roam wherever they want. I was like, that's great. You're going to entertain a chick? Hey, come back to my pad. Look at my iguana turds everywhere. I mean,
they look like human turds, man.
That's the thing. The people hate them.
They're huge.
And they're invasive. That's the other thing people hate. Not that they're turding in their $1 million mansions in the Keys, but that they're eating all their foliage, especially the exotic stuff that they paid a lot of money for. They're down there just chomping on the flowers, man.
Oh, man, I would love to find a restaurant that could serve some iguana.
I'll find out for you, my buddy. Yeah, he. And then it's funny because another buddy of mine, an American guy, sent me. I'm on a WhatsApp chat with him and like 20 other dudes where they send the weirdest things, and out of nowhere he sends me this thing. It's a platter full of skinned iguanas. And there's an ad like on Craigslist, or offer up or something like here.
Well, it was on the Herald today, so of people doing that, and they had a great picture of these perfectly skinned iguanas that you think to yourself, man, if you could get it like that, then it's like, half the battle. But if you have to do it yourself, it just seems like a lot tougher than like filleting a fish or something like that.
I think if you served me some at a cocktail party deep fried, and you didn't tell me what it was, I would eat it, and I might even enjoy it.
It's red meat. Like, you look at it, it's real red.
It's
like...
Yeah.
And they only eat plants, so they're not going to taste nasty like some kind of seabird or something like that.
That's exactly what he told me, yeah. Well, like a vulture or something. The ducks down here, the Muscovy ducks, the ones that are really horrible looking with the red stuff all over their face, and they're black and white, and they're ugly as all hell. They're invasive also. They've been trying to get rid of them forever.
Do those taste good?
Well, I don't know, but I heard that what you got to do is if you're going to eat them, you got to, same with the geese that are wild down here, is you got to catch them, put them in a cage, and you got to clean them out by feeding them clean water and cornmeal for the last month of their life, so that they crap out and they excrete all the lake water, the canal water that they got in there, and
that makes
and
sense.
the cornmeal gives a lot of nice fat to the liver, don't you know? That's how they make foie gras.
So that's funny that you say you got to clean them out, because I was reading about, and now I'm going to go off on a tangent, but you could do this here in Florida too. Snails, if you want to eat snails, it's the same thing. You got to clean them out. You got to pick them out of your garden, and you got to keep them in a container and feed them cornmeal until they have crapped out basically for like a week, so that they crap out everything that they might have eaten, because they can eat some of those poisonous plants, stuff like that, and so you got to.
Are you talking those giant African land snails that are down here?
Not giant ones, just the regular snails that you might step on after a rain or something like that.
Yeah,
you know?
those guys. I live by a lake, and we got these ones that are as big around as like an apple.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, but they're coming out of the lake. They're an aquatic one. I think they're called Washingtonian or something. The birds eat them. The snail kites come down, and the ibises, they fish them out of the water. They eat them. Yeah, they like it. They don't have to wait for the cornmeal. Yeah, I don't think I'm touching any of those anytime soon.
All right. On that note, it's Wednesday, January 22nd, 2020. Did I say that at the beginning? I hope I did. 2020. Nothing's going on in Miami.
305-361-8557. Miami, if you can't sleep, we'll help you out. Call in.
You're listening on Jolt Radio. You can subscribe at nothingsgoingon.com and get the podcast there on your iTunes or your Stitcher or your Spotify or wherever you would like to listen to your podcasts. And you can check us out later, or if you missed some of the show, or if you want to fast forward.
So I got another thing that recently happened over this Martin Luther King Day was Wheels Up, Guns Down.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
I didn't write this down. This is a good topic to talk about because I do think it's a little stupid. But yeah.
It's a good thing we didn't have Jersey here tonight because he'd suck up all the air in the room. But he's a big stickler for obeying traffic laws.
Okay.
And his problem is that he drives with me, and the sidewalks aren't big enough. I'm all over the place. And so Jersey tells me, he says, "Oh man, you won't believe, this whole weekend. Can't you believe all the crap and the trouble that's going on with this Wheels Up shenanigans?" I said, "Man, I haven't seen one of them." He's like,
"Yeah,
are you kidding me?" He says, "There," and his main thing, he says that we've got enough, characters already here in Miami. He calls them douchebags.
Okay,
but he says there's enough of them here. We don't need extra. And that's what goes on this weekend is that they actually, bus them in. These guys fill up their trailers with, these ATVs and four-wheelers and ride them down, and then they cruise all over the street with their wheels up in the air. No license, no exhaust.
Well, you can't even ride those vehicles in the street.
They're not street legal.
Yeah.
And they tolerate it, though.
So, I guess, yeah, I'm not for people doing that, but I've kind of swung the other way in the sense that I see so many people complaining about it that now I'm just I don't care enough. You know what I mean? Call me when we've been talking about how it's reckless and it's going to cause an accident for 20 years and it still hasn't happened. So even though I don't want to condone people doing that, at the same time I'm like, what are you getting so upset about for real? Because
I don't know. Jersey was complaining that a lot of stuff went awry. That there was problems everywhere, and
really?
Traffic and fights and accidents and whatnot. I didn't hear anything about it.
Yeah, me either. I didn't see it anywhere. One thing I did see, and I didn't read the article, which I should have for the show. I saw the headline and I saw a little blurb, and it was that the Herald interviewed some people involved, and I hated this logic that one of the guys gave. He said, "Well, we could be doing this, or we could be out there committing crimes." It's
wait a minute.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's my problem with these events.
Yeah, that's not an either or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get that you might not have anything going for you and stuff like that. So I'm glad you guys have something kind of positive encouragement, even if it's reckless or whatever, and against
I didn't think about that. You got a point
laws.
there.
But it's don't say that. What are you gonna? Just because you can't ride your damn ATV, you're gonna go rob somebody or something? That makes no sense to me.
That's it. No, but you got a good point there. A lot of people don't have anything going for themselves in this town.
Yeah.
And so if that's your thing, you know what? I think I'm kind of changing on it. Okay. Don't get in my way. Don't run over my kids. If you wreck, I'm going to maybe laugh at it if it's kind of funny, if it makes a good meme or, gets viral. But knock yourself out, know.
I wonder if it's, I guess it'll never happen, but if they'll ever get a permit and be able to ride, all the way down with like an escort or something.
Well, it makes sense now. So I keep my boat way down south, like Gould's, man.
Okay.
Cutler Bay area, like old Cutler Ridge. To get off the turnpike, I get off on Eureka, way south.
Okay.
And I had to head east to go towards Black Point Marina. And this weekend, they were putting up the barricades all along 184th on the west side of the highway, on the sort of less economically advantaged side. And they were putting up barricades all along the side. And I thought, what's this? Well, then they were putting up bleachers. And I can only think this must have been that they must have had a parade or something, or like an MLK type deal.
Yeah, they do
now,
have
how these guys tie themselves in with MLK, Martin Luther King's actually one of my heroes. I'm in awe by some of his more powerful speeches. If you get a chance, and I don't like to get too serious on this show, but listen to his speech protesting the war in Vietnam. It's some of the most powerful oration you'll ever hear. And I just can't see what the connection is with Wheels Up, Guns Down with Martin Luther King, and why they do it on Martin Luther King's day. I don't see the connection.
It's just a general kind of black empowerment connection, I suppose. There is a certain empowerment.
It's an amorphous sort of protest that doesn't really mean anything.
I wouldn't call Wheels Up a protest. It's more of a, today's the day that we're just going to do this because it's like...
And if you don't, we're going to commit crimes.
Well, that was the one guy's justification of the thing, which was really stupid. But I don't know. Again, I don't want to like justify it because I think it's hard to justify in a thing unless unless you want to justify it like, well, the system sucks and we're here to, fuck that shit, But I don't know. Ultimately,
I think it's what you say. This is our thing.
It's been 20 years with this stuff, and
that thing isn't 20 years old, is it? Wheels Up?
I don't know if it's 20 years, but okay, it's been 10 years, 15.
Wheels Up, Guns Down. Didn't that come
years?
from Hands Up, Don't Shoot or something?
It's been at least 10 years.
I don't know. But, I'm not hip on these things. There was that bike thing, like Critical Mass, that used... Is that still a thing?
So Critical Mass is a lot like Wheels Up, if you think about it.
Yeah.
They blow through all the stoplights and all that stuff, and then eventually they got a police escort.
Yeah.
Because they were doing it once a month. So you had to deal... The city had to deal with it.
We were working at CFO.
They still do it, by the way.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen it in forever, but we were working in CFO, across from the corner. You could barely walk across the street to get a drink, There were so many people coming through, and it was wild. But it was kind of, it had kind of what the Mango Strut Parade had, a billion years ago sort of vibe. It was wild. It was organic. It was put together. It didn't really mean anything. It was silly, but it was fun, and it was somewhat organized. People were LED and glow sticks all over their bikes,
but they would just blow right through, and they still do. They blow right through the red lights,
Oh, sure.
They take up all the lanes in a way you're not supposed to, and people complain about that too. But again, it's like, well, you have a legitimate complaint, but no, okay, I'm done. I'm not so angered about this stuff. You know what I mean?
I like this frame of mind. You're winning me over.
It's a legit complaint. Don't get me wrong, but this I'm like.
Well, that's
save your for something real, man.
That's Jersey. Jersey like freaks out.
There's a lot of people who feel that way
when he sees the Vespa guys weaving through traffic.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, he's like, God, I hope that guy gets hit, and dies in the street. And I'm like, man. And I was like, but if I had a Vespa, I'd probably be doing the same thing, If I had an ATV, I might get Wheels Up if I knew how to do it, and kind of scared, but so we saw a guy today or yesterday doing it way out in Kendall. He's kind of late.
Tuesday?
Yeah,
he was like late to the party.
Like late to the party, and all of a sudden there was a guy on a 4-wheeler, wheels up. Like, wow, all the way out here. You got lost, buddy. We were talking. I was talking with Jersey. He said, they're smart. They don't take this thing to South Beach. The cops out there are like the one area where no messing around. We'll light you up. Fill you full of holes. But
Jesus, yeah, they did that, man.
yeah, no, the cops on the beach. That's a whole other story. And that's Jersey's complaint. He's like, they're not enforcing it. Nobody's out there enforcing it. Well, what are you gonna do?
Oh man, that's a perfect segue. And Jersey was complaining about it last time, but I got to mention this because this is too good. This cop, Javier Ortiz, did you see this?
Mm-mm.
Okay. This is a great story. This guy was the head of the police union, and he was always in like hot fire he was always in the hot seat a little bit because he was really, for being like the spokesperson for the police union, he was always very abrasive and confrontational. So anytime some kind of national event with police happened or whatever, before like anything, he was already like out there speaking like that guy was a thug and deserved, I don't know if deserved to die, but just implying it like ready to talk about it, even though it has nothing to do with him or whatever. And then he got in some trouble here in Miami for doing some stuff. But the latest thing, he got promoted to captain. He's no longer the head of the union. But what he did was, this guy is a white Cuban guy, and
what department?
City of Miami Police.
Ah,
so forever he's been, white Cuban on his official papers or whatever. And so recently he switched his race classification on the official paper to black.
Nice.
Okay. And so apparently it was done. He did it to either for statistical purposes for the department, for like diversity purposes or something, and also
kind of a reverse Michael Jackson
for his promotion. I don't know if the promotion part is for sure. So he switched it, and then he gave this weird video where he justifies it, where he says, I'm like 1% black, and because of the one drop rule, I'm black, and all this stuff. And he said it to the commissioners and all this stuff. Anyway, he gets suspended for being just an asshole, like too much of an asshole, right?
Let me guess, he's going to claim racism?
I don't know. We're not there yet. Man. That's funny. So it brings up a couple things. So number one, this guy's just really being like a dick. And at the same time, it made me think of like these DNA tests now that everybody's getting.
Yeah.
And
be careful what you go looking for.
Number one, you probably shouldn't do these DNA tests because
right.
You should know that they're all shared with law enforcement all the time. And
they're shared with everybody.
Yeah,
there's all this sort of deep, dark thing of that 23andMe.
Yeah.
Anything that's free, it ain't free. So they're marketing you.
You can look that up. It's all shared, and you just it's just another way to track you, basically. But regardless of that, so people are finding out, statistically that they have, 2% from Africa or whatever. So now everybody can technically...
And they start wearing a dashiki or something.
So now everybody could start kind of claiming that they are black, right? And so we have these laws in place to, like affirmative action and stuff like that, regardless of what you think of affirmative action. These laws in place that are supposed to help disenfranchised minorities and stuff like that. And so you suddenly have like a legal basis to totally, what's the word? Work outside the spirit of the law. So let's say so that's a little bit what this guy's doing, So he's like, well, I can prove through, I don't know if he took the ancestry thing or if he's just saying it because he wanted to say it. I don't know that.
Didn't we have a presidential candidate who kind of did the same thing, got in some hot water with being Cherokee Indian?
Yeah, with being Cherokee Indian.
She's only like 1,024th or something like that.
Exactly.
Right.
And so...
If all roads lead to Rome and all rivers lead to the sea, don't all our routes kind of lead back to the same pot, We can all claim that?
Yes.
Well, I'm a descendant of Lucy. Leaky found her skull. You all right?
And so I wonder what's going to happen in the future. Well, this guy's just a jerk because he's technically like exploiting the system. You know what I mean?
Shamelessly, too.
Yeah, shamelessly. Regardless of what you feel about the law, if you want to get rid of the law, okay, but you don't want people to exploit the law. But I wonder if in the future this law won't be able to stand or anything like that. Like, these types of laws won't be able to be defensible because everybody will be able to claim their DNA says X, Well, not everybody, but most people.
Well, on that line,
because I would say, like, I bet, I don't know how many, Cubans probably all have, not all of them, but a large majority of white Cubans will have 1%, 2% African blood because there's a lot of African people in Cuba, or black people in Cuba.
I would say they'd call themselves Cuban now. I was in
right, but
I was in Cuba a while ago, and
the census doesn't say Cuban; it says white, black, native, and Hispanic. Hispanic also, like white Hispanic or
they
black
have
Hispanic.
Hispanic. Yeah, that's right. They have something that's
white non-Hispanic.
White. There's Hispanic, white Hispanic, or Hispanic not African.
Yeah.
They have some delineations, and that's hard to say. And if you go to the island of Cuba now, today, the overwhelming majority is clearly African influence or African blood. I mean, it's just the story of what it is. The majority of the light-skinned, more European Cubans bailed, got out of there, and sequentially and more cumulatively got out of there into where the island now is very African descent,
Except for the government, which is all white still.
Well, right, yeah,
crazy.
you almost got like an apartheid going on down there. And it's speaking of that, is that Roberto Diago, famous Cuban artist. His show later for closings and openings, his show's coming down, but he speaks a lot. At first, I didn't pay too much attention to his work, but then I was reading more of his stuff. And he's really dealing with like racism and the black experience in the Caribbean, and a lot of his stuff is very like strongly anti-racist, and he does these things to bring about attention to the plight of black folk in the Caribbean, be where they may, Trinidad, Tobago, Puerto Rico, Cuba, northern coast of Colombia, these type of things, and. I didn't think much about it, and I thought, oh, well, don't we all regard Cuba as just like a total homogenous, like melting pot, everybody gets along? No.
So that's funny because Glexis
love him.
Novoa, he made a passing comment in a lecture I saw, and then I asked him about it. He told me the same thing. He's like, no, Cuba's a lot more racist than you think, and all this talk of that's just how we say, how like in Cuba and in some other Latin American countries, for black people are just like, they just call them negro, hey negro, they just call them like black, hey black, come here, whatever. And to say that, I always thought that was I suppose, kind of like cultural thing, but it wasn't a classist situation. But he tells me no, it's totally a classist situation, and that white people do regard being black as
lesser.
Not so much lesser. I wouldn't put it that strongly.
The other.
But a little bit the other, and a little bit more like if you're black, you are sloppier in a sense, like a lot of stereotypes about like not being on time and things like that permeate the society, he says. And they think that it's not a racism thing because it's not as strongly as strongly as saying like lesser, you're lesser. They don't really feel like that, but it is still not a level playing field, let's put it that way, which would explain why on this very communist everybody's equal society, the government is mostly white.
Well, it's clear that I think Cuba's a fine example of that system works on paper, but Animal Farm taught us.
Oh yeah,
some are going to always be more equal than others.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just not going to. Yeah, it's a sad system. God, I wish I wish that whole embargo ended already. And we could travel down to Cuba. Growing up, a segue again. Growing up as a white Jewish kid, with Cuban friends and and Cuida Niños that took care of us and told us stories about Cuba and taking a ferry. Can you imagine? You took a ferry
Yeah.
from Key West, woke up in Havana in the morning with your car. It was awesome, and I can't wait for this whole stuff to be over, and
we can actually see it and interact with it for ourselves, right?
yeah, absolutely. I was there, man. I found the most generous people, most loving, educated.
When did you go?
I was in 2012.
Oh, no way.
I got sent down by CIFO to install a show down there. They had the in-house guys at Museo Bellas Artes install the collection, the show from the peeled from the collection, but they got to a certain point where they couldn't. They just didn't have the. I don't want to say they didn't have the capability because they did, but they just didn't have the experience, the tools, the familiarity with the higher tech equipment to install a contemporary art show. They were able to everything that was two dimensional and sculptural, no problem. And that's why, and they were supposed to send us down. The client was going to send us down, and we were going to be down there for like a month. And I was looking forward to it with my whole crew.
Nice.
In the end, they shaved us and they sent me for 10 days by myself with nobody else,
Gotcha.
just to fine tune the stuff and work with the crew down there. At first, I was upset about it, but then when I got there, I worked with really some really beautiful people and very humble, very educated, very generous with the little that they had, and it was a hell of an experience. And I had grown up like a white kid and Jewish kid in South Florida, where everybody Cuban that I knew was comunista. I'll never go. No, yo no voy, and never go there, and they'll rob you, they'll kill you, they'll eat you, all this sort of stuff.
Okay.
And I got down there, and I was like, these people are really nice. And I had a long talk with the guy who was my counterpart there, who was the leader of the install crew, and he told me, he's like, Artie, you don't understand. He's like, that community in your hometown is keeping their foot on our neck down here. He said, if it weren't for them, we would, we wouldn't be like this down here. And yeah, man, there's so many stories. I asked some of the guys. I was freshly a father when I was down there. I had just had my second boy, and true to form, a lot of people were offering me dates with mulattas left and right, and their sisters, and I could have had my way, but I was so freshly in family that I was sharing photos, and I was like, this is that, and I'll never forget one of the guys told me, he said, well, and he was like a little younger than me, and I'm like, well, why aren't you gonna have kids, Well, one, they have a ton of girlfriends. They don't really settle down.
Yeah.
But two, he told me, he says, you know what a pack of diapers costs? It's like a month's salary. It's like 3 weeks of my salary just for a pack of diapers. I was like, really? Wow, man, that's not working. And I mean, what I was making an hour, these guys were about making a month. The disparity was overwhelming. And
Yeah.
I was there to do a job, but you're a human being. After a while, hey guys, let's go out on my dime. Let's go out. What's your favorite place to eat? Let's go there. Went to they had the paladares.
Yeah.
And oh man, just crazy good, amazing, really great food. And beers were $1 each at the bar, at like a hip bar. Beers were $1. I mean, imagine.
Yeah.
You go down there at Gringo and flash a 50 and be like the king of the night. It was wild. But yeah, I don't know where we were going with that, but I guess it all trailed back to racism and classism, and this cop here in Miami who's claiming that he's black when he's really white.
Yeah. All to, I don't know, to pad the numbers and to get a promotion. It was kind of pathetic.
There's probably a lot going on there. There's probably a lot going on there. I think the I don't know much about the story, but the blatancy of it, just the total shamelessness.
Yeah, it's a little much,
especially
since
sin
he's got like
vergüenza,
and the fact that he has a history for being bombastic and stuff like that. It's like, okay, come on, it's a little much. It's a lot of spectacle. You know what I mean? It's like it's that kind of like this guy, because he's always like on social media and stuff like that. and especially when he was like the union head. And they got him out of there, thank God.
Didn't we have a discussion many shows back about a social media personality who may have been Cuban? The doctor who was doing the.
Oh yeah.
Was he also Cuban?
I don't know. I don't remember. Was he? I think he might have. Well, he was. He was definitely had a.
I don't want to. I'm not singling out a particular
Spanish-sounding last name. Maybe.
I'm not singling out a particular community here, but I'm sort of pointing the finger at our whole community, at ourselves. Aren't we about spectacle down here? You know?
I think. You know what? When I was thinking about this earlier. You know that
Jennifer Lopez, A-Rod, Sylvester Stallone back in the day.
Do you know when that Warhol thing where he said something about everybody in the world's gonna have their 15 minutes of fame
in
or
the
whatever.
future? Everyone will be ready, famous for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
God, how right he was.
So
man.
so now we're there.
I haven't had mine yet.
The thing is, we're at the point where if you want it, you gotta be a complete spectacle. Give it to me. I mean, you're famous right here. There's like 3 people who know us.
I'm famous by myself in my car, bro.
I feel like we're probably we haven't even realized how far this is going to go. But right now, everybody who wants to be famous just has to kind of whore themselves out to be the biggest spectacle possible. It goes from politicians all the way down to your local police union guy.
What is it about us, I wonder? I don't have that answer, but there's something here. It's, you could say in Hollywood people want attention because they want to be stars. In New York, they want to be big shots and go to, what was that famous restaurant? Elaine's, In D.C., it's about power brokers, Dallas, it's about cattlemen and oil, right? What is it about us down here? Because we don't have a film industry. There was the cocaine heyday, sort of. Before the 1980s, and I was born before then, Miami was like a fishing town.
Yeah.
It was like a quiet vacation fishing town, and it was full of old Jews on Miami Beach, man. My dad used to take us to those old Art Deco hotels, and it was just full of old Jews. Hanging out, walking everywhere.
There's actually this really good photographer. He's pretty good. Way better than me. He's a Jewish guy. Look him up. I always forget artists' names. Anyway, he took a bunch of photos of Miami in the late 70s, early 80s, in Miami Beach, of all the old Jews hanging out all over in all the hotels and all this stuff in color with a lot of flash and stuff. Looks fantastic. Just look up Miami Beach Jews photographer, and then he got killed in a drug deal.
No way.
Yeah, so it was like he started right before it started, and then he got killed in some kind of drug deal. Yeah.
Was he like a bystander, or he was engaged in?
He got like robbed or something like that.
Wild.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to.
Yeah,
God, I wish I remembered.
Every once in a while, you look at the old Scarface movie. I don't know if you ever do, but the scenes of Miami Beach, like south of 5th back then, are like unbelievable, man. Just like, when were we ever that? We've turned it so plastic. To our earlier theme of, I don't think you can say down here the more things change, the more they stay the same. I don't think you can, because the more things change, the more they change.
Yeah, they change.
Yeah,
they don't stay the same.
Right, it's different now.
Yeah.
The whole south of 5th on Miami Beach was like scary.
Yeah.
It was kind of derelict. And if the bathrooms and the parks and the men's room and the beach area was like to stay away from. You didn't bring kids there. And now
it's the nicest part of the beach south of 5th.
So, yeah, absolutely.
And then all the way leading up to, so you had the 80s with all the, actually, it was almost over by the late 80s, but the late 70s, early 80s when you had all the drugs. Then it kind of tapers off, and it becomes the nightclub scene.
Yes.
All through the 90s.
Yes.
Early 2000s, you start getting like a rich European tourist and stuff like that.
Thomas Kramer, the famous Jewish, the German developer. Yeah, absolutely.
And they all come in, and that goes like through the 2010s. But now,
where are we?
South Beach is in a south of Fifth is the like nice area in quotation marks, and then from Fifth to Lincoln is starting to like it's come back down in status again, where it's all a little bit schlubby, and it's like tourists from the United States who are not, they're not the big paying tourists. It's like,
I disagree. But yes, I mean, I don't disagree with your theme or with your trajectory.
It's almost like a spring break crowd
there.
now.
But I remember partying with some Frenchies that came down for a show for the Pompidou. The Pompidou did a show in conjunction with a venue that we worked at down here many years ago. And they showed up, and they loved us, and we all went out to the bar together. And I'll never forget bringing them to the Titanic. You know the Titanic.
Over in the Gables?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So we took them to the Titanic, and we're there having drinks, and we were buying rounds, and they were so impressed. And of course, every time I buy a round, I quickly throw a bunch of singles on the bar for the barmaid.
Okay.
And they know us there, and so they take care of us because we're locals. But then the Frenchie girl, the head curator or something, goes up. She's like, "Oh no, you've bought so many rounds. It's my turn." So everybody like puts in another round, and we're talking like 10 people drinking here. So you got all sorts of cocktails and craft beers, and the bill comes up, and she pulls out of her purse and she counts it to the penny, man, and puts it down to the penny, and then seals up her little thing and says thank you, and walks away with the drinks. And the girl behind the bar, who we've known for years, is like frozen with a face like a zombie, man. Like, I can't believe she's not going to tip anything. And we're talking like, this is like $100 tab right here. Just, a $100 round, easy. I can't believe you're not going to tip anything. And so I look at her, I was like, this is my local girl who takes care of us. I quickly whip out 2 tens and I throw it down. She's like, you shouldn't have to do that. And I told her, I was like, well, and I'm like an idiot. I'm like, well, they're European, they don't tip over in Europe. She goes, that's BS. It's written down in all their travel books that they're supposed to tip. They should know this. Goes off on me while I'm tipping her. Go figure. But so the tourists where I was going is the tourists in the beach. You're saying are the high paying, but
they were through the
throwing around a lot of money, yeah, but tipping not so much.
In 2012, it was like a high end tourist, and now it's back to being a kind of low end tourist. And I was talking about the changes and how things change.
It's cyclical. I kind of like that because my dad used to rent out, like I'm telling you, in the late 70s and the early 80s, my old man would rent out an entire room in one of those old Art Deco hotels from the 50s that hadn't been renovated. The same old nasty red carpet in the hallways with stains everywhere.
Yeah.
Burnt shag in the rooms, and they all smelled like cigarettes, And my dad would rent out like the entire corner suite of 4 of them for me and my cousins and his cousins and our uncles. Oh man, we had a blast. Took over the whole thing. Solarium. You ever know what a solarium is?
Like a place to tan?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
A solarium was up on the roof. It was a sun tanning platform up on the roof where they had a bar and cocktail service. Nowadays, there's a pool up there, right? In all these places. Back then, they didn't have the technology, I guess, to put pools up there. So we'd go up to the solarium and hang out on the roof and throw ice down on Ocean Drive, and then run down to the beach. Oh, man.
I don't know where we started to get here, but yeah, things change, and they change. They don't stay the same. Not in Miami anyway. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like things change, and the past is past, and
yeah, Little Haiti's trying to change. It's where our shop is, and I feel it there. There's like a pulse there where it can be something at any minute, but then you turn around, you look, and it is what it is. I don't know how to say that any other way.
I'm glad. I'm glad it's on a hiatus.
Yeah, but Chef Creole is still Chef Creole.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're right there. And G's Liquor Store and the Coin Laundry. DJ Suicide is living there. And he says that Coin Laundry there on Northwest 2nd is one of the more dangerous places on earth. Actually, it's North Miami Avenue. Pardon me. You ever seen that one on 54th?
Yeah, I have.
He says that's the most dangerous place because he does his laundry there. He says
Oh.
every weekend there's a shooting there.
Really?
He says you can hear it while he's sleeping at night. There's always a shooting and there's cops.
Jesus.
And I was like, man. He's like, yeah, but I got to do my laundry there. So it's it's a really good. It's an industrial, it's hard-working area of town. There's a lot of industry going on there. A lot of small industry. A lot of people. We just got some new neighbors, and it's this young dude who's slapping together tables and exotic woods and epoxies and resins and making designer stuff. Young guys, like almost half my age. I'm thinking, wow, this is cool, and it's still going on in Little Haiti. I don't think Little Haiti has caught that Wynwood bug
I'm so glad. I mean, they're trying to do that development. I think the guy got in some hot water. Some of the people, but I can't tell you exactly what. So it's kind of in my head. I just kind of hope it plateaus. And
I think Wynwood plateaued a while ago.
I mean, Wynwood, but it already maxed out. Look, it might have plateaued, but it's already so we're not what it started.
We're forced to drive through there still.
Yeah,
and I look at the people who are walking around on like a Thursday afternoon or a Saturday in Wynwood by those Wynwood walls, and they're very pasty and sunburnt. I mean, these people are coming from the Midwest,
okay,
and they're hearing that this is the area to walk around in Miami, and they're walking around there, and the shops are no longer like gritty art.
No, they're not
galleries
at all. No.
And stuff. They're Panther Coffees and now condos, and it's totally gone that way. And I agree with you. I'm thankful. Little Haiti was like the big hope.
Yeah, and I'm glad it's kind of like
it's not doing it.
It's not doing it yet, but there's that Magic City development. So I just hope that thing doesn't. Like I'm just hoping that even though they own so much property, that slowly people start realizing that maybe there's not enough money to invest this right now, to do the building right now.
Along those lines, that conversation must have been going on about the design district 10 years ago.
Right. But
12 years ago when 08 happened, and then there was the dropout, and everything was design district this and da-da-da-da, and that's what kind of made Wynwood like the kind of dump that Brooke Dorsch Gallery could survive in and be a scene, and it was cheap, and it was beer for openings. It was great.
Yeah.
I loved those years, even though we were struggling, and those were great years. I thought art was a little more real. It was a little more. God, in our industry, everything now is made to match the couch and made to fit in with the lobby and stuff like that. And I think you've always had a certain percentage of that, but I think that is just a lot more popular when all the cylinders are firing and you're selling lobbies and elevator waiting areas. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe you can measure it in how real the art is. How much chances people are taking with the art. Whether they're making stuff that's just colorful lines to match a lobby, or whether they're making a statement. I don't know.
On that note, that's a good point. But we're going to keep moving because we're already over an hour and stuff like that on this Wednesday, January 22nd, 2018 on Jolt Radio. Nothing's Going On in Miami, episode 26. I'm your host, Rafa, and I'm here with Art Handler.
Thank you.
Let's get right on to. Do you have anything for calendar, man? I forgot to do my calendar, and then
we're closing. We just closed the Roberto Diago show. Again, Afro-Caribbean artist. I didn't think much of it until I installed it and really sort of got into it and investigated it and sort of lived with it a bunch. Really, some really powerful stuff. And I think that sort of term is thrown around a lot in the art world. Oh, powerful, but it was really some really good stuff. Next is coming up is Jacob Lawrence, famous from the history books. Going to be opening in late February. Before then, of course, we got a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
And a boat show.
Yeah, we'll be back before the boat show, I think.
but after the Super Bowl. Yeah, they're trying to hire me for the Super Bowl to.
Really?
Yeah, to run a boat. That's my other. I'm not just an art handler. I'm also a local captain. I got my license renewal finally.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I had
Congrats.
to thank you. I had to pass a piss test and a vision test, which I'm actually failing the vision test more than the piss test. But yeah, no, they wanted to hire me for that, and it's kind of up in the air now. Negotiations still of whether or not we'll do it. But yeah, there's going to be a big. I think the Super Bowl. I think it's along the lines of wheels up, guns down. Quit bitching about it, you know. Let it be, man. I'm all for it, you know. These people are going to come here and spend a ton of money.
It's never in my way, so I don't really mind.
No, I agree. You know, how much does it impact our local economy? It does.
Yeah.
There's local guys here who are going to do well, and there's going to, how low down? Well, they'll hire local guys to park cars and,
No, the restaurants and the hotels will do really well.
Yeah.
For a week.
Yeah.
And you get some I'm pretty sure the bands come down here and stuff. I wish I had my calendar because I could tell you, but like musical acts come down to coincide with it. So like maybe one of your favorite DJs or bands will be playing that weekend or
maybe
the week before. Donzi for sure is playing. Anyway, you know what I did write down? Because I was scrambling. I have this thing that automatically makes me a calendar now, but I have to do it from home, and I should have done it before coming over here. It just tells me all the events that are happening.
Have it send you emails, and you can just scroll through emails while we're yapping.
At some point, I will make it work like that. But anyway, so I was here, and I was like, shit, I don't have anything for calendar, and I start looking at like the new times and crap, and like what's here. I found one stupid thing. And it's really stupid, but I'm going to tell you guys.
Hit me.
There's a chocolate festival this weekend at Fairchild Tropical Garden. So if you are really into chocolate, head down there. I don't even know what it consists of, but you can eat some chocolate and stuff like that. And
Fairchild is.
I bet there's a chocolate fountain. I bet there will be.
Oh yeah, sure. Fairchild's an untapped gem. I think we don't. One of the fellows we used to work with, old Alberto, we love him, Comandante. He used to take his time off and go walk around Fairchild. Whoa, is that a caller?
It is. But now I know who it is, so it's a little different. But let's see. Hello, caller. Ooh.
Did you hang up on him?
No, I did not. Hello. Yo, what's up?
What's up, man?
How you doing, Junior?
What's going on, man? I know who's in the chocolate.
Well, you can head on down to Fairchild this weekend. Eat all the chocolate you want, man.
Hell no, but that black cop Javier Ortiz is in the chocolate, though.
Right on, man.
All I know is this. I wish I was at that meeting.
Right?
So I could tell him to shut his black ass up.
Yeah, there you go, man. Hit him.
You know who was at that meeting? He told it to Keon Hardeman, who's like the commissioner.
Yeah, Keon Hardeman, I remember.
And he had to listen to that shit. Like, yeah, I'm a black guy. Like, get the fuck out of here.
I wonder what Keon was thinking.
He was like, I want to slap this guy.
Yeah, he was smirking the whole time. I saw that shit.
Oh, you saw the video, right?
Yeah, I saw the video. That asshole, man, fuck him.
Yeah, man. That is just disrespectful and disgraceful.
He is the shittiest cop in Miami. Hey, Javier, I hope you're listening. Fuck you.
All right.
All right, Junior. Thanks for the call, man.
Peace, man.
Later.
All right. One of our callers.
Loyal, baby. Been with us.
He's not
since day one when he asked me what the show was. He's always been there, and I appreciate it.
He's not Publixman, is he?
Yeah, he is. He finally revealed himself, so now he can use his real voice.
Publixman, we love you, buddy.
Now he can use his real voice. Anyway, the last thing I wanted to mention, which I don't know why I didn't mention it before, which is where the Donzi comes again, is at 3 Points, the music festival, the Miami, the most Miami Authentic Music Festival.
DJ Suicide's going to be doing something.
So I was gonna say, they put out the lineup, and so it's like Wu-Tang Clan is gonna be headlining, The Strokes. There's a bunch of artists, the big
Strokes
guys.
Are pretty good from what I hear.
They're good. They're a good. Like a Brooklyn kind of garage sounding band. I like them a lot.
They're no Donzi. Anyway,
but let me tell you some bands that are going to be playing. I got the whole list here, and some of them from Miami. So 100 Gex is going to be playing, which a buddy of mine told me about. And they're really cool. And it's cool that they'll be in Miami. They were here like 2 months ago. But anyway, let's go into some of the Miami artists that I see here. So Butterfly Snapple is going to play at 3 points. Donzi is going to play at 3 points.
All right, Donzi.
They made it on the list.
Love you, man.
Otención is going to play at 3 points. Highlight is going to play at 3 points. Las Nubes will play at 3 points. Mustard Service will play at 3 points. Who else? Oh, and of course, Terrence Tebow.
DJ Suicide.
DJ Suicide will be
pump
at 3
him a little
points.
bit. He's all right, actually.
Yeah, he's a good guy. And I'm sure I missed somebody. Oh, Palomino Blonde, who we've talked about on this show a bunch of times. They all got in to play. I bet they'll play early, but that's fine.
They get any dough out of that?
I'm not sure. Depending on the level that you're.
Do they get just like publicity or?
No, I think Terrence will get paid. I think Terrence will get a little money.
Good.
I hope so. Because you got to lug all your shit around.
Yeah, he owes me a few bucks. Just kidding, Suicide. Love you, man.
All right, on that note, I don't have anything else. Catch you in 2 weeks. I want to thank everybody for listening. This is Jolt Radio. I want to thank Mr. Jolt and everybody involved in that. Go to nothingsgoingon.com if you want to subscribe to the show. Check us out if you're into the podcast thing. I want to thank Art for being here.
Hey.
Coming through.
This
is a very nice, pleasant show this time.
Yes, I agree with you. I should have done a little more research and spoken a little closer to the radio. But
I think you sound fine.
Hey, Miami, watch out for those fallen iguanas.
All right, let's play us out.
Dan.